Hello, Bratislava!
Hello, Euroclosure!
Are you ready?
Okay, let's start.
So we're going to tell you all you ever wants to know about Euroclosure. My name is Arne. I'm a freelance programmer. I also teach programming. I'm originally from Belgium, but I'm based in Berlin. And my main activity nowadays is creating screencasts about Clojure and ClojureScript. You can find those on lambdaisland.com.
Hi, my name is Malvina. I like programming and drawing. I did some sketch notes last year. Maybe some of you remember that. I'm actually a Berliner, still in Berlin. I'm currently working with the cool people of Wunderlist at Microsoft Berlin. And yeah, I'm also studying computer science. So before we start, we'd like to mention that we have a booth over there in this corner. We'd like to invite everybody of you to come around and ask us questions, how to get started. We're really happy to help out.
We have lots of stickers.
So, what are we going to talk today? So, we're going to talk about ClojureBridge, why it's important, why we're doing it, then how we do that in Berlin, and how you can get involved. So let's go.
All right, so what is a ClojureBridge? Can everybody who's been at a ClojureBridge workshop, either as an attendee or as a coach or as an organizer, please raise your hand. All right, that's a good amount of you. So for the rest, it probably needs a little bit of explanation. So to put it briefly, what we try to do is introduce underrepresented groups to programming with fun, free workshops. So ClojureBridge, they're workshops held around the globe, organized by volunteers. They're typically one-day workshops where we introduce people to programming, especially with Clojure. Now, the word underrepresented groups probably needs a little bit of explanation. So when you look at society at large, you see this amazing diversity in people. There's a wide range of genders. People have different nationalities, different cultural and racial backgrounds. People have different ages, different abilities, different interests, different experiences and backgrounds. But then when you shift your gaze to the tech community, to your average developer team, then that diversity is a lot less. And so what we try to do is create a safe and encouraging environment where people of those underrepresented groups can figure out if maybe, programming is something for them. Now, you'll notice in this talk that we mostly talk about women and we mostly focus on women. As a ClojureBridge chapter, it is actually open to you how you want to define your target group. So we in Berlin specifically reach out to people who identify as women or who are non-binary. The reason that we focus on that is that it's an obvious starting point. Women are 50% of the population, and that's just not the case in the programming industry. The other reason is that as a large part of our organizer team are women, this is a group of people that we can relate to and that we know how to create a safe and good environment for them. So that's why we choose that as our current focus, which doesn't mean that we might not do something else in the future. And diversity really matters. Like, you might be wondering, okay, that's all fair and well, but why, right? The thing is that diverse teams are more creative, they're more innovative, and they're more productive than other teams. So it's not just a moral imperative, but it's also just good for business. And to put it with a quote from Lena Reinhardt, you can find some of her talks on YouTube. She does some really good talks on these subjects. Diversity is the default. Diversity is the norm. If it's not diverse, it's broken. And so this is true in nature. Diverse systems are more resilient, are more adaptive, are stronger than homogeneous systems or groups. And finally, it's about representation. So if you want to build software that is relevant, that is usable, that is accessible by a large part of the world's population, then we need to represent a large part of the world's population and not just a small slice of it. So that's why building software is an act of representation, and that representation really matters to build stuff for now and for the future. So this is what a lot of teams look like, unfortunately. And the thing that I want to point out here is that there's an additional problem, not just that we need to bring more of these people into programming, but also, if you look at research, a very large amount of women in the first 10 years in the industry, they leave again. And there's a couple of reasons for this, but they're the obvious ones of everyday sexism, of the fact that it's harder for them to get career opportunities. They need to work twice as hard to be taken serious and to be seen as equal to the next guy. And so all of these things kind of compound and means that we have a leaky pipeline. So it's not just a matter of shoving more people in, but we also need to stop them from leaving again. And so that's why, you might be thinking, okay, Clojure Bridge, that's cool, that's for women, has nothing to do with me. But it is something that really is important for all of us, and we're all responsible for turning this culture around and for looking at ourselves, getting to grips with our own biases, and to read up on these issues and to look at our company's cultures and see what we can do there to really change things so that we can move towards something that looks more like this.
So, I want to tell you my story as a concrete example of what Arne just pointed out, because I think that open tech initiatives like Clojure Bridge, Rails Goods, Open Tech School, etc. can really change lives. So I started studying computer science right after I graduated from high school, and this was in 2012. And yeah, in 2013, I found myself in this dead-end road. Why was that? I hadn't learned programming. University was a really tough place to be. It was a really hostile environment there. I made absolutely no progress. It was not fun at all, and the stress level was super high. So I was asking myself, should I quit computer science? Should I drop out? But this situation was really hard because I was studying with 200 guys and maybe 3 to 5 women. And I didn't want it to be that girl, that drops out because she's a girl, And yeah, I didn't know what to do. And in this moment, I heard a radio show. There was actually a Turkish radio show, but they switched to German at some point to say that there will be a programming workshop for women in Istanbul. And it's co-organized by Rails Goods Cologne. And this sounded somewhat interesting to me. So yeah, I just searched for Rails Goods, and I found that they had a chapter in Berlin, and they had a workshop coming up. And yeah, I went there. And this day was really a life changer, completely, 180 degrees around, because they gave me a completely new perspective on programming. My coach showed me a very different way of learning, and I met a community there that has ever since supported me, in every single bit. Through them, a few months later, I found a job as a developer, and I also changed university. And yeah, what they really did for me was building a bridge, and I wouldn't be here if I hadn't found them at that day. So, thanks. This experience has then created a very strong wish for me to, offer this opportunity to more women. And I think that Clojure Bridge can change lives too, and I just want to give you another example. So actually one of our attendees is here today. Her name's Saskia, and she was also a computer science student like me, and she was struggling at some point if she was still on the right way, because she had almost no support. And through a coincidence, actually, she found us, and I was so happy when she told me the following, after I attended Clojure Bridge, I knew programming is exactly what I want and what I should do. And you know, the next thing is really more amazing. She said, like, I was super motivated and continued learning every week, and through Clojure Bridge I got an internship to work 3 months full-time on Clojure, which was an amazing experience. So give a hand to Saskia for that. So yeah, let's start from the beginning, like how everything developed.
Right, so a little trip down memory lane. It all started in 2009, so that's already 7 years ago with Railsbridge. So Railsbridge was one of the first initiatives to kind of bring that, that concept of workshops for women. And you'll see that, a lot of these initiatives kind of trace their roots back to Railsbridge. Rails Girls was also inspired and came afterwards. Since 2012, Railsbridge has turned into an official foundation that supports these initiatives under a bigger umbrella called the Bridge Foundry. So they do a number of things, including mobile development workshops, Angular, dealing with kids, and so they also do Clojure Bridge. So Clojure Bridge is a relatively new addition on the scene. The first workshop was only 2.5 years ago, in April 2014. But since then, it's really gone global, and there's been over 40 workshops all around the world. In Europe, we've had workshops in 5 different countries so far. So there's London, we've had a couple in Finland, Germany, that's us, and then Sweden. There's also been Ireland, which isn't on the slide, and Amsterdam is coming up. And I hope after this presentation, many more chapters in Europe will be starting up, but we'll see. We're rooting for it. In Berlin, we have a pretty strong team. We're quite happy with that. We've had 3 workshops so far. We've been going for almost 2 years, so we try to kind of go every 6 months, do a new workshop.
So, question is how we got started in Berlin. That's actually kind of a funny story. That's why I want to tell you that. So, a bit complicated. A long time ago, before we knew anything about Clojure Bridge or anybody was involved in Clojure or anything, I met with Arne and Bettina, and we were talking at lunchtime about a project that Bettina had found, or I think you people had found it before, and it's about music that grows old with you, because apparently your experience with music changes, and somehow we came to talk about how we would realize this. And yeah, the topic Overtone came up. And Overtone is this music library for Clojure. And we thought, well, why don't we learn Clojure? And we founded a learners group called CLJ Art with a Heart. And we were hosted at Railsgirls learners group called Ruby Monsters. And a few months later, we went to this German Clojure conference called Clojure D. It's also happening soon again, right? You're all invited to come over to Berlin. And what we had to figure out there was that me, Bettina, and Nicola, who had joined our group at that time, were kind of the only woman there. And yeah, that was not a nice feeling. And then a few weeks later, we found out that there are actually workshops, and the first Clojure Bridge workshop would be happening in Germany, in Solingen. And then we thought, wow, we need Clojure Bridge in Berlin. And so, yeah, another few weeks later, we had our first workshop in Berlin in July 2015 with 30 students and 17 coaches. So, yeah. I want to tell you also about the experience we had from this workshop. So, it's clear that after a one-day workshop, you won't have senior developers right away. It doesn't create you, damn, junior or senior developer. But it helps to break down 3 major barriers that people face. So these barriers are that many people say, especially women, well, I think I'm not interested, or I think I can't do it. And some people, actually a lot of people say, I'm interested and I would like to learn, but I have no idea where to start. And reasons for these barriers are, there are so many reasons for that, but just to name 2, so I mean, you know it, society and media and social networks and stuff, they give a completely wrong picture of what programming is and who can be a programmer. And also the ongoing sexism keeps women out and also other minorities out of our tech communities. So these are really things we have to tackle. But on our workshops, we see that we achieve something for the individual attendee, that they can break down for themselves these barriers, because now they see what kind of projects they can realize with what they've learned, and now they become interested in the topic. They also get a realistic idea of what programming is like, and so they get capable and they say, you know what, I can do that. And all the people who wanted to learn and didn't know how, they get lots of tooling and they get a learners group, and so they find a way to learn what they wanted to learn. So, yeah. Also, we have this wow effect at the workshop. Of course, it's not about understanding, exactly what every line of Clojure code, does, but it's about this feeling of achievement. So people say after the workshop, like, wow, I built this myself in very little time. Here are actually some outcomes of what people did. And they get a concrete example of, the code they wrote created some specific outcome. So in our workshops, they built a Quill app, and Quill is a graphical library for Clojure. And yeah, then they get really interesting outcomes that can move or change on click and stuff. Yeah. So here are also 2 quotes from our attendees, some feedback we got that I want to read out to you. Clojure Bridge was my start into programming, and it did change everything I thought I knew about people who do computer stuff. And another attendee said, it took the fear out of learning something which could be potentially difficult, and I now have the confidence to do this.
Okay, so in the next part, I want to talk a little bit about the Berlin chapter specifically, and some of the things that we find that we do quite well and that we're proud of. So this is the team from the first 2 workshops. So there's Bettina, Lisa, Julia, Nicola, Martin, Malvina, Jella, Francisca, myself, Ben, and then we have a couple new recruits here, Saskia and Tibor, who aren't in the picture yet. So can these people please stand up? A lot of them are here, so can we please have a hand of applause for them? So this is already one thing you see, that we have a pretty big team, a pretty big group that's sort of supported by the wider community, and that means that we can pull a lot of stuff off. So one of the things that's really important for us is food. Because if you're learning stuff all day, if you're focused, you're burning a lot of calories, and we need to make sure that we keep everybody well fed. So this is we get these cute vegan muffins for the afternoon snack, but then we get caterers for lunch that make sure that we have good, wholesome, healthy food that really charges people up. Now this is optional. What, for instance, other chapters do sometimes is just do a potluck. So we're lucky that we've always had a pretty good experience finding sponsors, and we can do stuff like this. But really, you can do a workshop with already very little effort. Now it all starts, so a month or 2 before the actual workshop, we put a big Google form online, and that's where it really starts. That's where people can sign up. And we already tried to ask upfront all the information that we might need. So it starts with identifying information. We put a text field in there, just sort of open-ended, asking people for their gender. That's mostly because we sometimes get men who didn't really understand the concept. And so instead of sort of guessing by people's name, we just kind of ask up front, like, and you can fill in a wide range of things in there. We ask for people's language preference because we're in Germany, but we're also in a very international city. So we have both English-speaking and German-speaking groups. And the whole workshop we try to run bilingual. So there's a presentation, there'll always be 2 people on stage, always saying the same thing in German and in English. We ask for people's prior experience so we can group them, from absolute beginner to intermediate to sometimes we have a few people who already know a bit more. Food preferences, allergies for the caterer, and then whether they need special assistance or whether they need childcare, and then we do our very best to accommodate that. So this is the sign-up form, and that all goes into one big Google spreadsheet. And then the fun part comes where a couple of us, basically once registration closes, that's a couple of weeks before the workshops, a few people spent a lot of time going back and forth between our email and the spreadsheet. And what we do is we pick a number of people at random at first that we invite for the workshop, because the thing is we get many more signups than we can actually accept. So we've been growing slowly. We kind of want to, ease into a bigger capacity, but at the moment we're around 35. Now the next workshop will be 40 people. But we also do a lot of outreach, so we kind of want to get beyond, just our Twitter followers. We want to reach people who, like Malvina, who just heard it on the radio, like people who will find a flyer at their bakery or something, or at their library, or at their university. So through this outreach, we get a lot of signups, but that means, for instance, for the last workshop, there was 150 people. So then what we do is we pick a bunch at random, send them an email, say, okay, you've been chosen, you can come, you're very welcome, we really want to have you there, but please let us know as soon as possible that you're absolutely sure that you're coming. And then if people don't reply in time, or if they say, sorry, I can't make it anyway, then we invite more people. And so this kind of, we just keep doing this, keep inviting more people until the very end. Now what this does is make sure that we have almost no no-shows. And this is really valuable because we've learned this from similar initiatives, we've learned this from experience with Rails Goes Berlin, we hear this from other chapters, that this is a really big problem. If people sign up for something that's free 3 months in advance, then maybe half of them will not show up. That's just how it is. So if you ask them to confirm very shortly before the workshop, we get this almost no-show, almost zero no-show, which means that we can really give the maximum amount of people this opportunity. Now, another thing we do that kind of trickled down from Railsbridge to ClojureBridge, and then we also do that now, is a coaches training event. So 1 or 2 weeks before the workshop, we'll have an evening where we get all the coaches together, and we have a slide deck, we do a bit of introductions, get everybody to know each other, and then using the slide deck, we have an evening of discussion, basically. We get everybody to pitch in, and this is just sort of to get everybody clued up, to make sure that they kind of know what it's about. So it's for the practical things, what and where's the curriculum, but it's also for things like, how do you deal with social comfort? How do you have people who are way out of their comfort zone, doing something they've never done before. How do you make sure you keep everyone comfortable? Things like, talking about unconscious bias and use of language, just to make people more aware of these things. And then finally, just giving everybody some tips of, okay, what are good coaching styles and habits, and what can you do when you're struggling with your group. So in practice, we usually have groups of 4, maybe 5 people with 2 coaches. And then we have some floating coaches that can sort of go around and help people that need some extra attention. And then finally, and this is where it gets really cool and exciting, this is an idea that we took from the Rails Goes Berlin community, which is also very active. And as far as I know, we're still the only ClojureBridge chapter doing this. So once a workshop is over, we ask people, okay, do you want to continue learning? If so, then you're invited to our weekly study group. And so there's coaches available there. Every Wednesday evening, they meet up, they do a bit of a potluck, and then people can start working on whatever project they like. And now, after this next workshop, we're gonna put some more effort into making sure that there's a smooth connection, that we have kind of a beginner's curriculum to go into when people just, have done the workshop.
So, obviously, now it's your turn. I mean, you see the meme, right? So that's our only meme we have in the talk, so it means you have to get involved. So, and yeah, actually there are different ways of getting involved, because we know that not everybody of you has so much time to organize a workshop yourself. But of course, I mean, we would appreciate it a lot if you organize a workshop, but you can also help out and coach, for example, and you can sponsor a specific workshop maybe in your area, or you can donate to the non-profit organization Closure Bridge. And you can also improve the curriculum if that's what you like. And of course, most important, spread the word. We have the stickers there, just give them to people you like. So, and yeah, who is there to help you? If you want to get started organizing your own workshop, there is the Closure Bridge board, which I will introduce to you in a second. And there we have a mailing list, a workshops mailing list, where you get lots of help if you ask questions there. You will get a mentor assigned, and other past organizers are really, really excited to help you. So, this is the board. At the moment, it consists of Chris, me, Yoko, David, and Anna. And yeah, you can find more information on closurebridge.org, and we have lots of material on GitHub/closurebridge. And yeah, like our main tasks are actually helping you getting started organizing. So yeah, and spreading the word. Of course, we maintain all these documents on GitHub. And yeah, we try to moderate and lead discussions between past and future organizers on the mailing list. And yeah, we keep our logistics like donations and stuff in good shape. That's what we do mostly. So yeah, how to organize? That's the big question maybe. So how to get started? I have a little timeline here for you. So the first and most important thing is that you decide to do it, right? And then a big yay if you do. Then you should sign up to the workshop mailing list. Just say hi, you're there. And then you can either send us a mail to the board, or you open an issue directly at closurebridge/workshops on GitHub. And then we will assign you a mentor. To open the issue, you don't really need everything to be set up. You can just say, hey, I want in this area, I want to make a workshop, and then we help you getting started. Yeah, and then you need to start. So here are again some resources. They're also linked. We will tweet this slide deck later. And yeah, basically there's a workshops mailing list and a curriculum mailing list, and everything is on GitHub too. And this repository /organizing is really interesting because we have lots of files there that will help you organize. And yeah. So, what do you need for a minimal viable workshop? You don't need many things. Basically, the most important is that you have a venue, a safe space where you can have your workshop. So that can be in a university or like a space in your office maybe. And yeah, once you have your venue, you can find a date. In Berlin, we do the Installfest on Friday evening and a workshop on Saturday, but really it's up to you. Like, you can see what works best for your attendees. And yeah, of course, then you need to find coaches. And we found out that it's a good ratio to have 2 attendees per 1 coach. So if you find, let's say, 5 coaches, you can invite 10 attendees over. And yeah, of course, the most important is to find attendees, and here you can reach out on different mailing lists, you can print posters, everything what we heard already. And yeah, please keep in mind that the workshop should be free. And then once you have that, you can upgrade your workshop. So if you have time and yeah, you can find sponsors. And yeah, if you found sponsors, then you can have food and drinks, maybe coffee, cake, whatever you like, to just make this a really nice event. And maybe your sponsors are also sending you some swag over, so yeah, or you print stickers so that for people it stays a memorable event. And as we already heard, setting up a study group can be a really nice thing for your attendees to, continue learning and stay on that path. So, this is the most important section. And also the last one. Why should you do it? Maybe I convinced you already, I'm not so sure. So I collected some quotes. Reason number 1. You can change someone's life for the better. And here's another attendee feedback that we got. She wrote, "I'm surprised that I managed to program that it's fun and actually exactly what I should do. Classic gender issue, nobody ever considered it for me. I learned that I can do it, and now this feels super good." Then reason number 2, it's rewarding. Yoko, one of our board members, said, "It's true, both students and teachers have light bulb moments during the workshop. This absolutely makes people feel happy and inspired." Reason number 3, you can grow your community. Martin is also here, one of our organizers, also organizer of Clojure Berlin meetup, said, "It's great to be part of an initiative like this, where you can truly see the effect of your work. We did 2 workshops and it changed the face of the community in Berlin." Reason number 4, you will learn more about communication, teaching, and a lot about Clojure. So Tibor, one of our organizers, said, "No matter whether you are starting with your first steps in programming or you join Clojure Bridge as a coach, you will grow and learn from this experience." And then the last and most important reason, it's fun. So yeah, we are really happy to have you over at our booth. That was our talk about Clojure Bridge. Thank you everybody for listening. And yeah, have a nice evening.
Thank you very much. We won't have time for questions, but we're still here today and tomorrow. You can find us at our booth. Clojure Bridge Berlin can also still use more sponsors for the upcoming workshop. So if your company wants to do something awesome, come talk to us. Thank you.